My dear friend, I want to take you into the quietest, most hidden room of my past, a room I did not invite anyone into for many years, a place where my heart learned its most painful lessons, and also where it first began to hear the voice of the divine in a way that would change my life forever. For in the year 1912, the life I had so carefully built and the roles I had been taught to play began to come undone, and I, Florence Scovel Shinn, found myself standing at the edge of a chapter I had never planned to write. My marriage, which once seemed like a sanctuary, becoming instead a place of cold silences and invisible walls. And every day felt as though I were walking through a house where the windows had been boarded up and the air had grown heavy. A house where once there had been laughter and shared dreams. Now only polite words passed between us like strangers exchanging courtesies on a street corner. And the woman I had been, the devoted wife, the artist sharing her brushstrokes and her hopes, began to vanish into a shadow of herself, watching her own life from a distance, wondering where she had gone, wondering if she would ever come back. Divorce in those days was not a word whispered without consequence. It was a scandal, and an unraveling that brought with it the sting of public judgment and the weight of private shame. And yet the more I tried to deny the truth, the more I felt the ache of living a life that no longer fit my soul, and slowly, painfully, I began to realize that holding on to what was breaking was not saving me. It was suffocating me. And that perhaps the courage I needed was not the courage to keep enduring, but the courage to step away, though I did not yet know where I would go, how I would survive, or who I would become without the title of wife to define me. There were nights when I sat alone in a dimly lit room, my hands folded in my lap, tears falling without warning, and I would tell myself I was crying for the loss of love, but deep down I knew I was also crying for the years I had silenced my own needs, for the parts of myself I had placed on a shelf to keep the peace. And as the days wore on, I began to feel the stirrings of a strange, quiet whisper inside me, a voice that was not born of fear or despair but of something far deeper, something unshaken by the circumstances around me, and it said, "Florence, this is not your destruction, this is your deliverance. This is the divine moving you from where you are to where you are meant to be." And though my mind did not yet believe it, my soul leaned in, and I began to speak words over myself, not in any formal ritual, not as a student of metaphysics, for I had not yet studied such things, but as a woman who desperately needed to believe there was something beyond the pain she was feeling. I told myself, one day you will look back at this moment and bless it. One day you will understand why the door closed. One day you will thank God that what you thought was the end was in truth the beginning. And those words, repeated in the quiet, became a lifeline, a rhythm that steadied my heart when the waves of uncertainty threatened to pull me under. And I share this with you because I know there are those listening right now who are standing where I once stood, staring at the ruins of something you thought would last forever, feeling as though your story is ending. But I must tell you, from the depth of my own lived truth, that this is not your ending. This is your turning. This is the corridor between the closed door and the open one you have yet to see. And though it feels dark, though it feels endless, there is light ahead. And that light is your rebirth. In those early days of my separation, I did not know what the future would hold, but I began to suspect that the divine does not waste pain, and that perhaps the very things we think are meant to destroy us are in truth the chisels, shaping us into who we were always meant to be. And I remember walking the streets of New York with a heart so heavy I could feel it in my bones, yet at the same time sensing an odd kind of freedom in the uncertainty, as though for the first time in years the script of my life was unwritten, and I could, if I dared, begin to write something entirely new. And that seed of possibility became my quiet companion, growing in the soil of every lonely night and every tear-soaked morning, until one day it broke through into the open, and I realized that the same hand that had allowed the door of my marriage to close was guiding me toward a calling I had never imagined for myself. And so I say to you now, if you are walking through your own ending, if you are carrying the weight of something you thought you could not live without, speak life over yourself. Declare that you are being led to something greater, even if you cannot yet see it. For the words you speak in your darkest hour will become the light you walk by in the days to come, and I promise you, from my own journey through heartbreak into purpose, that you will one day stand where I stand now and say, thank God that door closed, thank God I was set free, thank God for the divine rebirth that came from my greatest pain. And until that day arrives, hold fast to this truth: you are not being abandoned, you are being realigned. And what feels like a breaking now will one day be the blessing you treasure most. So keep going, keep speaking, keep trusting. Because the best part of your life may be waiting just on the other side of what you are afraid to release. When the ink on the divorce papers had barely dried, and the echoes of my old life were still lingering in every corner of my thoughts, I found myself in an unfamiliar space, not just a new apartment or a different daily routine, but an entirely new existence, stripped of the roles and expectations that had once told me who I was, and it was in this vast and uncertain emptiness that the first glimmers of my true life began to appear. For when you have nothing left to lose, you begin to listen differently. You begin to notice whispers you once ignored. You begin to ask questions you never dared to ask. And so it was with me. I wandered the streets of New York as both a resident and a stranger, seeing the city not through the eyes of a wife hurrying home or an artist meeting deadlines, but through the eyes of a soul untethered, asking quietly, why am I here? What is my purpose now? Questions that at first brought no answers, only silence, but in that silence I began to sense something stirring. As though the divine itself had been waiting for me to be emptied, so I could be filled with something entirely new. And I must tell you, my friend, this is how it often happens. The breakthrough comes not in the middle of our comfort, but in the middle of our collapse. For when life strips away the scaffolding we thought was holding us, we discover there is a foundation beneath it that is unshakable. And it is from that place I began to read and listen and explore ideas I had once brushed aside as curiosities. Ideas about the mind, about thought, about the unseen laws that govern our lives. And it was as if each page, each conversation, each small revelation was a lamp being lit along a path I did not yet know I was walking. I was introduced to the writings of metaphysical thinkers. People who spoke of the power of words, the creative force of belief, and the divine intelligence that responds to the vibration of our thoughts. And something inside me leaped in recognition, as though I were not learning something new but remembering something ancient, something I had always known deep in my spirit. I began to practice speaking differently about my life, not as a poor, abandoned woman starting over, but as a child of the infinite being led into her true purpose. And with each declaration my faith grew stronger, though I still stumbled, though I still had nights when grief would wash over me, and I would feel the ache of loneliness, so sharply I could hardly breathe. Yet in those very moments I would hear again the quiet loop that had begun in the darkest days of my separation. This is not the end, Florence, this is the beginning. And you will bless this day. And I would speak it aloud until it was the loudest thing in the room. I took small steps, attending gatherings where ideas about thought and manifestation were discussed, sketching and painting in between, as if my art and my spiritual study were feeding the same hunger. And slowly I began to see how the very pain I had endured was giving me a language to speak to others in their own suffering. For I could tell them not just what I had read in a book, but what I had lived. That the closed doors of our lives are not the cruel hand of fate, but the merciful hand of God redirecting us to where our true good lies. And I know there is someone hearing me now who is just beginning their own walk through the ashes, who wonders if they will ever feel joy again. And to you I say, do not despise this empty space. For it is in the emptiness that the divine can pour in what is truly yours. And the same voice that whispered to me will whisper to you if you dare to listen. The same law that worked for me will work for you if you dare to speak in alignment with it. And though the world may say you are finished, the infinite says you have only begun. So hold on, my friend, hold on and walk forward. Because your divine rebirth is already in motion. And one day soon you will thank the very storm that once made you tremble. And as the weeks turned into months, I noticed something remarkable. The more I trained my thoughts and my words toward the life I wanted instead of the pain I had endured, the more the outer circumstances of my life began to shift, as if the world was quietly rearranging itself to match the song my soul had begun to hum. Small opportunities appeared, people came into my path who spoke encouragement without even knowing my story, and a certain lightness began to return to my steps, though I was far from having everything figured out. For there were still mornings when the weight of uncertainty pressed on me, still moments when memories would rise uninvited, but even in those moments, I found I could choose. I could choose to repeat the loop that had carried me through the worst nights. This is not my end, this is my turning. Until the sting of the memory softened and the vision of what could be grew brighter, I began keeping a little notebook. writing down not the record of my losses but the record of my declarations, filling its pages with statements of faith that felt almost too bold for the woman I had once been. But they thrilled the woman I was becoming, statements like, "I am guided to my highest good. Every closed door leads me to something greater. My words are seeds, and I choose to plant only what I wish to harvest." And I tell you this because those sentences, simple as they seem, were my lifeline, my proof that I was not powerless in the face of life's upheavals. And soon I began to wonder what would happen if more people knew that they could speak themselves into a new reality, that they could use the very tool they had been using unconsciously, their words, to design a life aligned with the divine plan for them. My curiosity became a hunger. My hunger became a devotion, and my devotion began to shape my days, for I would rise early, read from whatever metaphysical writings I could find, walk through the city repeating my affirmations in rhythm with my steps, and at night I would write, not yet books, but reflections and little lessons I had tested in my own life. Lessons like, never voice your fear, voice your faith. Never declare yourself defeated, declare yourself delivered. And these truths began to live in me so deeply that I could not imagine returning to the woman who once believed her life was over because a chapter had closed. In truth, the chapter that had closed in 1912 was the very one that had to end for the book of my real life to begin. And I say this to you with all the compassion in my heart. Whatever door has closed for you, no matter how final it feels, it is not the ending the world tells you it is. It is the invitation the divine has been waiting to send, and your only task is to accept it, even if your hands are trembling, even if your voice shakes when you speak your new words. Because with every declaration, you are aligning yourself with the infinite order that will never fail you. And so, my friend, if you are standing now where I once stood, let us walk together, let us speak together. Let us dare to believe together that the very pain you fear will undo you is the soil from which your purpose will grow, and thought the world may not yet see it. The seed of your new life is already planted, and soon, sooner than you think, it will break through the surface, and you will look back on this day, as I look back on mine, and say with joy, that was the day my divine rebirth began. When I look back now, I see that there came a day, quiet, almost unremarkable to the outside world, when the weight of my own transformation became too full to keep to myself, when I realized that the words and principles which had carried me from the cold ashes of my marriage into the warm light of a new vision were not mine to hoard but mine to share, for I understood that if these truths could lift me out of despair, they could lift anyone. And the very thought of someone else walking through heartbreak without knowing the power they held in their own spoken word stirred something in me that I could not ignore, and so I began to speak, first in small, almost timid ways, in conversations with friends who came to me with troubles, and I would say, do not speak defeat, speak victory, do not repeat your fears, repeat your faith. And though I expected polite nods, I began to see changes, small at first but undeniable. And each time someone returned to me with a spark of hope in their eyes, telling me that they had tried what I had suggested and felt something shift, my confidence in these spiritual laws grew deeper, until my voice no longer trembled, and I could declare without hesitation that there is no power in the universe greater than the power of the divine working through a mind that is in agreement with it. I rented small rooms where I would speak to whoever would come, sharing my own journey openly, even the raw truth of my divorce, because I knew people needed to hear that I was not born knowing these things, that I had not been spared life's blows, but had been remade by them. And I found that the more honestly I spoke about my own failures, fears, and nights of despair, the more others leaned in. For there is something about hearing that even the teacher was once the student, that even the healer was once the wounded. That gives people permission to believe that change is possible for them too. I looped back again and again to the truth that had first pulled me through, that every ending carries within it the seed of a greater beginning, that the very door which closes in pain is the one that hides your blessing. And I urged my listeners to stop cursing the door and start blessing the lesson it was sent to deliver. I told them that words are not just sounds, they are forces, invisible architects building the structure of our tomorrows, and that if they wanted a different life, they had to speak a different language. And I watched as this truth lit a fire in some and gently warmed the hearts of others, and each face I saw reminded me of my own reflection in those early days. The mixture of fear and longing, the hunger for something that could make sense of the chaos. And I would think, yes, this is why I went through it, this is why the marriage had to end. This is why I was pulled out of the safe, silent life I knew. Because had I remained there, I would never have learned to speak these truths with the authority of one who has lived them. And so every time I stood before a small group, I would silently thank that closed door, not as an enemy but as the divine messenger it had always been. As my reputation grew, people began inviting me to speak more often, and I began to weave my own affirmations into my talks, sharing the very ones that had shifted my own reality. And I would see people write them down, clutch them as though they were lifelines, and I would tell them, yes, hold them, speak them, live them, and you will see. And the joy I felt in those moments was unlike anything I had known before, for it was the joy of purpose, the joy of knowing that my pain had not been wasted, that the ashes of my old life had become the soil for something that could bless others. I began to dream of putting these truths into writing, not only so those who heard me could remember them, but so that those I might never meet could still receive them, and that dream would one day become my books. But even before pen touched paper, I knew I was walking in the center of what I had been born to do. And I want you to know, dear friend, that the same can happen for you. The very thing you think has stripped you of your future may be the thing that is delivering you into it. And if you will keep speaking life over yourself, keep aligning your thoughts with the divine, keep blessing the closed doors and walking forward through the corridors of uncertainty, you will find yourself one day doing what you were meant to do all along. And when you do, you will look back, as I do now, with gratitude for every ending that set you free. There came a moment, as natural as a sunrise yet as life-altering as a storm, when I realized that my voice could not remain confined to the walls of the small rooms where I had been speaking. For I began to feel the steady, undeniable pull to place these truths in a form that would outlast my own breath, something that could be read in quiet kitchens and bustling streetcars, by people I would never meet but whose lives might be touched just the same. And so the idea of a book began to take shape in my mind, not as a tidy plan but as a living, breathing necessity. For every time I finished speaking, someone would approach me and say, "Florence, I wish I could take your words home with me." And though I could repeat my talks, I could not place my presence in their living rooms. But paper could, and so I began to gather the notes, reflections, and affirmations I had been carrying with me, many of which were born in the darkest days after my divorce. And I knew I would not edit out the pain from which they came, for it was that pain that had forged their power. In the evenings, I would sit by the window with the city's hum below and write, as if taking dictation from the divine itself, the words flowing through me, reminding me again and again of the loop I had lived, from the closed door of my marriage to the open door of my calling. And I wove that pattern into every page, for I wanted my readers to see that the law of the spoken word and the law of divine supply were not airy ideas for the fortunate, but grounded realities for the broken, the overlooked, the ones starting over with nothing but faith and breath. The manuscript grew slowly, not from lack of inspiration but from my desire to speak plainly and clearly, to choose words that could be spoken aloud easily. For I wanted people to feel these truths in their bones, not just understand them in their minds. And with each chapter I felt again the gratitude for my own rebirth. For without it there would have been no urgency in my voice, no authority in my teaching. And I want to hear this. The thing you resent most right now may be the very thing that will give your work in this world its weight, its depth, its power to pierce through to the hearts of others. When my book, The Game of Life and How to Play It, finally came into the world, I did not know what to expect, for I had no large publisher, no great fortune to promote it, only the quiet confidence that what is divinely given is divinely protected and provided for. And slowly, through word of mouth and the mysterious currents of divine timing, it began to find its readers, some of whom would later tell me that they had picked it up in a moment of despair, just as I had once picked up the writings that opened my own path, and that my words had been the lifeline they needed to take one more step forward. Each letter I received, each testimony of transformation, felt to me like a confirmation that my closed door in 1912 had been the doorway to countless other doors opening for others. And this truth humbled me deeply, for I knew I was merely a channel, an instrument for laws and principles that had existed since beginning of time. Yet I also knew that without my own journey through heartbreak, I might never have been willing to become that channel. And so I tell you again, dear friend, that your suffering is not meaningless, your loss is not wasted, and if you will allow it, the divine will turn it into a gift for others, multiplying the blessing beyond anything you can imagine. And so my life became a tapestry woven of two threads. my own continued practice of these laws, for I am never finished learning, and my dedication to sharing them with others. And in both threads, the pattern was the same: speak the good you wish to see, bless the door that has closed, and walk forward in faith until the new door appears, for it always will, and when it does, you will step through not as the same person who stood weeping before the old one, but as someone reborn, carrying the wisdom and resilience that only such a passage can give. And it is this reborn self who will be able to do the work you were truly meant to do. The work that will bless not only you but all who cross your path. And so, my dear one, I tell you again, life is not a random sequence of accidents but a perfectly woven tapestry in which every thread has its place. When you know this, fear dissolves like mist in the morning sun. You no longer look at what has been taken from you with despair, you look with faith, knowing something more perfect is on its way. You no longer beg for what you want in a tone of desperation, you speak it forth as a queen or king, calmly, with the certainty that your word is law under divine authority. If you say, I am prosperous, you must feel the air around you bend to that truth. If you declare, everything I need is already on its way, you must stand as though you hear the footsteps of your blessing approaching. This is not wishful thinking. This is divine alignment. The more you practice it, the less the outside world can shake you. The problem with many people is not that their desire is wrong, but that their mind is split. They speak life one moment and speak defeat the next. They declare faith on Sunday, and on Monday they cancel it with worry. Remember this: every time you doubt, it is like digging up the seed you planted to see if it is growing. No farmer does that. He expects a harvest. He plants wattens and trusts the unseen process. You too must trust the unseen. The invisible always comes before the visible. It is in the silence, the waiting, the unseen workings of spirit that your good is prepared. So, be patient with yourself. Be patient with the timing. The seed does not bloom because you panic. It blooms because the season has arrived. And yes, my beloved, there will be days when your old fears creep back. There will be moments when the shadow of lack or rejection tries to whisper in your ear. Do not fight the shadow. It is only the absence of light. Turn on the light of your word, your declaration, your knowing. Say within yourself, that may have been my truth once, but today I choose the higher truth. Speak it until the atmosphere shifts, until your heart is calm again, until the invisible garden within you is blooming so fully that no shadow can survive in it. In those moments, you will feel the hand of God steadying you, the divine current carrying you forward. There is a sweet relief in realizing you do not have to chase what belongs to you. All that is divinely yours will find you, sometimes through the most surprising channels. A closed door may force you to walk down a street you never would have considered, and there you find the opportunity you were praying for. A delay may keep you from stepping into the wrong situation, saving you years of regret. The very thing you curse today may become the blessing you thank God for tomorrow. Life's apparent detours are the perfect turns of the divine design. That is why I say, never cling to the form of your desire. Cling only to the truth that your good is secure, no matter how it arrives. Hold this picture in your minding a golden key in your hand. That key is your word, your faith-filled declaration. Every time you speak with conviction, you place that key into a lock. Some doors open instantly. Others open after time has passed, because the moment had to be prepared for you. But the key works. It always works, if you do not throw it away in frustration. Guard your key. Use it daily. And when you see the door swing open, walk through it without hesitation, knowing it was carved for you before time began. There comes a time in every soul's journey when you must decide whether your word will simply be a sound in the air or a decree that shapes the very fabric of your life. Many drift through the years speaking casually, speaking carelessly, unaware that every word is a seed. Some seeds produce flowers, others weeds, but all take root. The difference lies not in the soil of life, for life is fertile, but in the intention of the sower. When you speak in faith, you plant a garden of good. When you speak in doubt, you plant thorns that you may later have to walk through barefoot. The divine does not take sides. It simply reflects. And if the reflection you see is not the one you desire, you must change the image you project. Words are the blueprint, and the blueprint must be drawn before the house appears. You cannot build walls before you have imagined them. And so it is with your good. You cannot receive that which you have not spoken into the others with conviction. The word precedes the manifestation, just as dawn precedes the day. I have met many who say, I will believe it when I see it. And I say to them, you will see it when you believe it. And not a moment sooner. For the word spoken in faith is the seed planted before the harvest. It is the contract signed before the goods arrive. It is the invisible cause of the visible effect. The unseen is the womb of creation. If you wait to speak until you see, you have placed the cart before the horse, and you will stand in the road wondering why nothing moves. In truth, the universe is moved by the word. That is why I tell my students again and again, speak not as you are, but as you are to be. The sick must say, I am whole. The poor must say, I am abundant. The lonely must say, I am loved. For in speaking thus, you align yourself with the pattern of your good, and the pattern will draw itself into form. But, dear reader, it is not enough to simply say the words. You must say them as though the whole of heaven listens. You must say them as though every angel holds their breath to carry your decree. You must say them with the authority of one who knows the law cannot fail. If you speak them with doubt, they fall to the ground like stones. But if you speak them with faith, they rise as birds and return with blessings in their beak. I have watched this truth in action countless times. The moment a woman speaks her good into being and refuses to contradict it with fear, the wheels of the universe begin to turn. At first silently, invisibly, but soon so swiftly that she must prepare room for the harvest. Many say to me, but Florence, I have spoken my word and nothing has happened. And I answer, nothing has happened yet, because you have contradicted your own order. Imagine a shopkeeper receives your request for a fine piece of clothing, but each day you return to say, cancel it, perhaps I do not deserve it. The shopkeeper is confused, the order is never fulfilled, and you leave empty-handed. Not because the garment did not exist, but because you did not hold your request. The universe is that shopkeeper, only infinitely patient. It will not force upon you what you do not persist in asking for. The word must be spoken and held. Held in the face of delay, held in the face of doubt, held even when the outer world shouts. It is impossible. For that is when the miracle is nearest. I remember a young man who came to me in despair. He had been unemployed for months and feared he would never find work. I told him to speak daily. I am in the perfect position, earning abundantly, surrounded by harmony. He looked at me as though I had suggested he claimed to be the King of England. But it is not true, he said. Exactly, I replied, and it will never be true unless you speak it into truth. He obeyed, though reluctantly at first. Day after day, he affirmed his good, refusing to speak of lack. Within a fortnight, a position appeared, so fitting to his talents, so exceeding in pay, that he could only shake his head and say, the word works. But it did not work because he said it once. It worked because he said it until the world around him could no longer deny it. You see, the word spoken in faith is a command to the invisible forces that shape our lives. It is not a wish, it is not a plea, it is a decree. The law does not respond to begging. It responds to knowing. When the captain of a ship says, full speed ahead, he does not run to the engine room to see if the crew obeys. He knows they will. And so must you. Speak your word and leave it to the divine crew to bring it into port. But if you run down to check, to worry, to ask again in fear, you have delayed the voyage. Faith is the captain's authority. Doubt is the stowaway that must be thrown overboard. Let us also remember that the word is not only what passes our lips. It is what we think, what we write, what we imagine in the privacy of our own mind. The silent word is as potent as the spoken. A woman may say aloud, I am loved, and yet in her heart whisper, I am alone. The whisper will often outweigh the shout, for it is the constant undercurrent that shapes the tide. This is why I urge you to guard your thoughts as you would your most precious jewel. Speak good aloud, but also think good, feel good, imagine good. For the law responds to the total vibration of your being, not merely to your occasional declarations. Now, some will say, but Florence, must I never speak of what is wrong? To which I replying, speak of it only to deny it power. Acknowledge facts, yes, but never surrender truth. You may say, there appears to be lack, but follow it with, yet my supply is on the way. You may say, the doctor's report says illness, but follow it with, quiet, I am the picture of divine health. In this way, you do not ignore the outer, but you refuse to bow to it as the final authority. For the final authority is the word you choose to hold, and when you hold it unwaveringly, the outer must yield. Life will test you in this. It will send appearances that mock your word, temptations to agree with fear, delays that seem endless. But these are not signs that your word has failed. They are opportunities to prove your faith. The diamond is formed under pressure, the oak grows strong in the wind, and your word becomes unshakable in the face of contradiction. If you abandon it the first sign of trouble, you have sown seed and plucked it up before it could sprout. But if you hold it, even in darkness, the dawn will surely break. And here is the beautiful thing: once you master power of a word spoken in faith, you will find it works for every area of your life. Health, wealth, love, purpose. All are shaped by the same law. Speak as one who knows, and the law will obey as one who serves. Your life will become a tapestry woven by your own declarations. And one day, you will look around at the beauty that surrounds you and say, I spoke this into being. Not with pride, but with gratitude. For you will know it was not your small self that did it, but the divine through you, responding to the law that cannot fail. So I say to you, begin today. Choose one good you desire and speak it into the world. Speak it morning and night. Speak it when doubts arise. Speak it until it feels more real than what your eyes see. And when it comes, as it surely will, you will have proven to yourself that the word is not a mere sound. It is the very power of creation in your own mouth. Use it wisely, use it faithfully, and it will open to you the treasures of the kingdom. For the word spoken in faith is the key that unlocks every door, and there is no lock the key cannot open. My dear friends, as we continue this journey together, I want you to grasp this truth with unwavering faith. Life does not bend to force, it yields to alignment. And alignment comes through the quiet certainty that what is divinely yours will meet you at the appointed hour. Too often, we exhaust ourselves with frantic striving, believing that the louder we knock, the faster the door will open, when in reality, the divine law opens doors not by noise, but by readiness of the soul. Readiness is not about your bank account, your social standing, or your cleverness. It is about the inner atmosphere you carry, for the universe responds to the vibration you radiate. If you hold thoughts of fear, you will magnetize delay, but if you dwell in thoughts of abundance, joy, and certainty, you will become a beacon for your good. You may say, Florence, I have been affirming for months, but I see no change. And I tell you, it is not the clock you must watch. It is the soil of your consciousness you must tend. A farmer does not pull at the seed to make it grow. He waters, he waits, and he trusts the process, knowing the unseen forces of life are at work beneath the surface. So it is with you. Your good is growing even when you cannot see it. Your demonstration is moving toward you, and what seems like a pause is often the divine's perfect orchestration. When you release the need to control the how and when, the floodgates open, for the spirit is never late, never early, always exact in timing. Declare with me now, I am calm in the certainty of divine timing. My good comes to me swiftly and surely, and nothing can block what belongs to me. Feel the power of that statement vibrate through you, for it is not mere words. It is a decree, and when spoken with unwavering faith, the very atoms of the universe rearrange to fulfill it. Stand in this knowing, and soon, what you once chased will chase you, what you once feared losing will cling to you, and you will find yourself living in the effortless flow, where blessings arrive without struggle. My dear friend, as we come to this final chapter of our journey together, I want you to remember something that can change everything in your life from this moment forward. You are not a beggar at the door of the universe. You are a rightful heir to all the good that God has for you. You do not have to scrape and plead for blessings. You simply have to stand in faith and claim what is divinely yours. Over and over, I have seen people transform their lives not by working harder in fear, but by aligning their thoughts, words, and feelings with God's perfect plan. When you stop saying, I hope things work out, and start declaring, everything is working out for me in divine order, you shift the entire energy of your life. The world responds to bold faith, for bold faith honors the God who made the promise. Think of it like this. You plant a seed in fertile soil, and you trust it will grow. You do not dig it up every day to check on it. You water it, you tend to it, and you believe in it. Your desires, spoken in faith, are like seeds in the rich soil of divine law. Every word you speak is either watering your dreams or drying them out. That is why I say never speak defeat, never rehearse failure, and never dwell on the shadows. Speak life, speak abundance, speak health, speak love. If fear whispers to you that it's not working, you smile and say, God's timing is perfect, and my good is on its way. You silence fear with faith. And the more you do it, the stronger your spiritual muscles become. The impossible begins to look inevitable. There is one more truth I want you to take to heart. Nothing can block what is truly yours. People may try, circumstances may seem to close in, doors may slam shut, but divine order is never outwitted. Your good will come through the right channel, at the right time, in the right way. You do not have to chase it or force it. You simply have to make yourself ready to receive it. That means releasing resentment, forgiving quickly, and keeping your heart clean. God cannot pour into a vessel full of bitterness and fear. Empty yourself of those and make room for miracles. When you do, blessings come so quickly you wonder why you ever worried. So I leave you with this: stand tall in faith. Speak your word and do not take it back. See yourself already living in the answered prayer. And when doubt comes knocking, as it surely will, do not let it in. Smile at it, thank it for reminding you to strengthen your faith, and keep walking forward. Because life is not happening to you, my dear. It is responding to you. Speak to it as one who knows the truth. I am divinely guided. I am abundantly supplied. I am deeply loved. I am already victorious. And then watch as the mountains move, the seas part, and your path opens wide before you. Your good is already here. Now go out and live like it. And so, as we come to the close of this journey, I want you to understand something deep in your soul. You are not walking into a future that is uncertain. You are walking into a future that is prepared for you. Every path, every twist, every blessing, and even every delay is part of the divine design that has been shaping your life since the very beginning. There are no accidents in the mind of God, no random moments that don't serve a higher purpose. The very breath you are taking right now is a divine appointment, a reminder that your story is still unfolding and your best chapters are yet to be written. Many live their lives fearing that they might miss what is meant for them, but the truth is, nothing divinely yours can ever slip away. It will wait for you, circle back to you, or be redirected to you in a way more perfect than you imagined. Your only task is to keep your heart tuned to faith, for faith is the bridge between where you are and where you are destined to be. Life will still bring you storms. Do not expect the sea to always be calm. But remember, the same hand that can stir the waters can also still them. And often, the storm is not there to sink your ship, but to blow you toward the very shore you prayed for. It is not your job to control the wind. It is your job to keep your sails up, to stand in the knowing that the wind serves you, not the other way around. If something is removed from your life, if a door closes, if a chapter ends, do not run after it. Trust that it was never meant to hold you forever. Let it go with love, bless it as it leaves, and open your hands for what's next. This is not weakness. This is spiritual courage. The courage to trust in the unseen. Every day, speak to your good as if it is already here. Walk as if the answer has already been given. Smile as if the breakthrough is already yours. Florence Scovel Shinn once said that your word is your wand, and so you must use it wisely. Speak life, speak health, speak abundance, speak harmony. Do not waste your words on fear, doubt, or limitation, for your words are seeds, and they will grow in the soil of your consciousness. Plant only what you wish to harvest. The mind is the garden, and your faith is the gardener. Do not allow weeds of fear to choke out the flowers of your good, and if weeds appear, do not panic. Simply plant again, speak again, believe again. You are not powerless and you are never without help. Invisible forces of good are working for you even now. Doors you cannot yet see are swinging open. People who will bless your life are being guided toward you. Opportunities that will elevate you are being arranged. All that is required is that you remain in alignment with the truth, that God's plan for you is perfect, and it cannot be taken away. Live in that truth, breathe in that truth, and when doubt comes knocking, smile and remind yourself, I am divinely guided, divinely protected, and divinely supplied. So go forward now, not with hesitation but with holy boldness. Step into your life with the authority of one who knows they are backed by heaven. Speak your good into existence, expect miracles, and above all trust. Trust that the life you are meant to live is not somewhere far away, hidden in the distance. It is here, it is now, and it is yours. My dear friend, if you could only see what heaven sees when it looks at you, you would never doubt yourself again. You are not a small, powerless being tossed around by chance. You are a spiritual powerhouse, divinely equipped with the authority to command your good. I have said it before, and I will say it again. Your word is your wand, your faith is your shield, and your courage is the key that unlocks doors no man can shut. You must stop rehearsing your troubles and start rehearsing your triumphs. Speak your victories before they come, for your words are seeds, and every seed knows how to find the soil it needs to grow. Life is not waiting for you to be perfect before it blesses you. It is waiting for you to be sure. That is the whole secret. Certainty. When you are certain, you are magnetic, and when you are magnetic, all that is yours begins to find its way to you, as if pulled by a law older than time itself. But do you know what keeps most people from this certainty? It is the habit of looking backward. They spend more time replaying the past than creating the future. Let me tell you something, the rearview mirror is small for a reason, and the windshield is wide for a reason. Because where you are going is infinitely greater than where you have been. Stop narrating old chapters when life is trying to write you a new one. The past is not a prophecy, it is a lesson. And like all lessons, you pass them by learning, not by reliving. The divine is not holding your mistakes against you. The divine is holding your potential for you, waiting for you to claim it. You cannot step into tomorrow if your feet are still stuck in yesterday's mud. Wash them clean with forgiveness. Of yourself, of others, of the story you thought you had to live. And here is the beauty of forgiveness. It is not weakness, it is release. Forgiveness is the art of setting yourself free so you can rise higher. Do not think you are doing someone else a favor by forgiving them. You are unlocking your own door to abundance, joy, and health. Holding resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. You must let it go. The moment you do, the current of divine good rushes into your life like a river released from a dam. This is why I always tell people, nothing is ever really held back from you. It is only blocked by your own resistance. Remove the resistance, and the floodgates open. Resistance can take many forms: fear, bitterness, self-criticism. But the most dangerous form of resistance is disbelief in your own worthiness. If you cannot see yourself as worthy, you will unconsciously push away the very blessings you pray for. Worthiness is not earned. It is your birthright. You were born worthy because you were born from the divine. A diamond does not have to prove it is valuable. It simply is. And you, my friend, are far more than a diamond. So stand tall, even if life has bent you for a season. The tree bends in the wind, but it does not forget it is rooted. Your roots are in the infinite, and the infinite does not wither. You must live with the expectancy of a miracle. I do not mean a vague hope, I mean a vibrant, unshakable knowing that the universe is conspiring for your good. Wake up every morning and declare, something wonderful is going to happen to me today. Say it until your mind believes it. Say it until your heart dances with it. Say it until the day cannot help but deliver it. Expectancy is the atmosphere in which blessings grow. Without it, even the richest soil remains barren. So raise your expectancy. Demand your good. Not from arrogance, but from the sacred confidence that comes from knowing it is already yours. And as you walk in this expectancy, remember that action is faith in motion. Faith without movement is like a seed in a drawer. It cannot grow without being planted. When you get the divine nudge to act, do not hesitate. Delay is the thief of destiny. The moment you feel the inspiration, take a step, however small. Action tells the universe, I am ready. And the universe responds by opening the next door. I have seen it countless times. The person who moves with courage, even when unsure, ends up exactly where they need to be. The path may twist, the scenery may change, but the destination is always aligned with their highest good. Now, let me loop you back to where we began. Your word, your certainty, your worthiness. They are not separate, they are one. Your word reveals your certainty, and your certainty reflects your worthiness. If you speak in doubt, you water the weeds of your life. If you speak in faith, you water the flowers. And here's the great secret. The garden of your life does not choose what grows, you do. So choose wisely. Choose to speak only that which you want to see. Choose to declare your good even when your eyes see the opposite. That is not denial, that is mastery. The master gardener does not cry over weeds. He pulls them out and plants again. So as we close this chapter, let this truth settle deep in your hearting. You are not at the mercy of chance. You are the architect of your reality, building with the bricks of your words, the cement of your faith, and the blueprint of your vision. Every moment is a fresh beginning. Every breath is another chance. Nothing is lost, nothing is too late. Stand in your spiritual audacity. Speak with authority, move with certainty, and watch as heaven rearranges itself to deliver what has always been yours.